just recently we found out an interesting little factoid about Skoda, which is that it's having something of an image issue. Now, that may sound surprising, considering that we're talking about a brand that has rocketed up in the Irish sales charts in recent years, and indeed in the global sales charts. The fact that it's a company that's selling cars hand over fist, and that it's a company that's moving up in terms of people's image. People are starting to take Skoda seriously at ever higher price points. But that actually is the problem, because now Skoda is struggling slightly to sell some of its cheaper cars, like the Rapid, like the Citigo, like the Fabia. People now think that the Skoda range effectively starts with the Octavia, and indeed there are people who think that Skoda now only makes 4x4s, with the hugely successful Kodiaq 7-seater and the clamour and excitement for the incoming Karoq, the Yeti replacement. So, where does that leave this, the Superb, and in particular this Superb, which is a Sportline model with the 2-litre 150 brake horsepower diesel engine and a price tag that not so long ago would have bought you a BMW 5 Series? Yes, because this Skoda, as it sits underneath me right now, will set you back €43,000. That's a lot of money by anybody's standards. As I say, not very long ago it would have bought you a BMW 5 Series. Add a tiny amount to that and it will buy you a new Volvo S90. This is a Skoda competing in the shark tank that is the premium car market. Yes, I know you can get a Superb that starts at well under €30,000, but that will be a bare and barren car. That will be a car bereft of equipment. This is not bereft of equipment. We've got a big sexy touchscreen, we've got a very subtle but very nice body kit that really does add to the looks of the car. It just sharpens up that styling a little bit, makes it look a bit less bland and a bit less minicabish. It's got gorgeous black finished alloy wheels. It's got a tiny little lip spoil, which I absolutely love, almost like a gurney flap. It's got these fantastic high-backed quilted Alcantara seats, which are amongst the most comfortable I've ever sat my posterior upon. It is a car that looks and feels every inch a premium product, and yet it has a Skoda badge, and so that will make it, in many quarters, something of a difficult sell. And it's giving me pause, because I definitely do like it a lot, this car. It's really, really good, which we'll get into the detail of in a minute, but there's that price tag hovering over it. Would you really spend that much on a Skoda? And moreover, on a Skoda 4-door saloon. Well, actually it's a 5-door fastback, but we'll skip that for the moment, because that 4-door saloon market is absolutely imploding at the moment. People are struggling to shift stock, second-hand values are falling, and people are clamoring and clambering to get into SUVs. So, taking all that as the background to this is still one of the nicest cars I've driven all year. And that's almost a hard thing to quantify, because it doesn't actually drive, well, not that it doesn't drive well, but it certainly doesn't drive excitingly. The steering is, it's nicely weighted and it's okay and it's reasonably quick, and if you put it in sport mode there's a bit of weight and resistance to it, but for the most part it's just steering that points the car in a given direction and the car goes in that direction. It doesn't really feed back or talk to the driver very much, so that's that. Then there's the suspension, which is mildly firm. There's a faint whiff of sportiness to it, and mostly it just keeps the car from crashing into the tarmac, and it just bumps along quite nicely, sometimes literally. It's not too bad, it's not brilliant, it's fine, it's absolutely good, it's adequate. So why do I like this car so much? I think it's because it's a functional device. Now, that's maybe damning with faint praise for a car that costs €43,000, but it just does a lot of things really well. There's the comfort, there's the space, there's the practicality, there's the build quality. This thing is really, really well put together. We did worry early on with this generation of Superb. A couple of the cars, the early cars that we drove, had very distinct noisy interior rattles, and we became worried that they were losing their touch when it came to build quality, but I have to say this one is really well put together. The touchscreen is really big and clear and bright and simple to use. The instruments, they're just simple and effective. They're still analog dials with a digital display in the middle. There's no complication, there's no fuss. The DSG automatic gearbox is much better here than we've been finding it of late. It just works better with the stop-start system. It's smoother at shifting. I don't know why it isn't like this in some Audis and other Volkswagens, but this is certainly the best we've found it for a while. And it's just like a lot of Skodas. doesn't do anything particularly exciting, but what it does well enough that you really just want to keep it around. It's that kind of car that you think, well, how are we going to cope without this? Because everybody fits in, the kids and the dog and myself and my wife. All the luggage and the bags and the shopping fit in the boot with no hassle. It's quiet, it's economical, it's got band B1 tax. It'll go from one end of the country to the other in perfect silence and quietness and comfort, and yet it'll also dive around town quite happily, because although it's a big roomy car, it's not so big you can't fit it into car park spaces. It's, I suppose, if you want to bring in a cricketing term, it is a terrific all-rounder. Doesn't do any one thing exceptionally well, but everything it does well enough that you really, really, really will struggle to live without it once you've tried it.